This is a News BTC headline. Dominance of XRP explodes! Ethereum and Bitcoin decoupling has started. On this one, I have some observations. I'll also provide you with the opinions of several different XRP chart experts, one of whom is aiming for $34 per XRP. It isn't ridiculous, but as I often say, I'm not sure if that will be impacted this market cycle. Things like that do occur, such as absurd rallies to the upside. And the notion of it, particularly in the absence of a deadline, if there isn't one, I'll just say this, would be strange to me if that never occurred. That doesn't make sense. XRP never reaches $34? Ever? Never, ever, ever. Very unlikely, huh? In my opinion, we are still in the early stages of cryptocurrency development, and XRP is among the most practical cryptocurrencies ever developed. Although it may not seem like it to you, in 50 or 100 years, people will say, nah, you were pretty early. I'm just saying, all right? In addition, the amount of money that will come in will be enormous in comparison to what has already happened. As I mentioned in my previous video, the asset class had a slight decline after reaching a new all-time high of $4.1 trillion today. That applies to the whole class of crypto assets. It would be strange not to have a market capitalization for the entire asset class that exceeds $100 trillion in the future, even if it isn't. Come on, I mean, after that, XRP will be a part of that. I therefore find it ludicrous that XRP will never reach $34. I simply don't know if this cycle will see it. Anyway, there is a lot to talk about. Have any of you noticed the circulating story? I wanted to quickly bring this up because it's so intriguing and shows how a very brilliant person may make a terrible mistake that ordinary folks like you and me simply do, as we comprehend it. Even though we knew it wouldn't hold up over time, here it is. And it's not this headline, but let me read this. Decrypt is the source of this. Harvard discloses that it has invested $116 million in the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. All right. To be honest, I'm still not all that excited about Bitcoin. Having held it since 2017, it's one of my more senior roles. I'm not particularly excited about it. From here, it won't get much higher. I respond that I'm considering percentage profits, so even if it reaches $150,000 or $200,000, I'm fine with that. I have no idea. I don't know that's going to go high this cycle anyway. However, I'm really glad to see this. I hope Bitcoin succeeds. I want the crypto asset class as a whole to succeed. Thus, its progress is intriguing to observe. Harvard is investing $116 million in an exchange-traded fund, ETF, that tracks Bitcoin. This story, which has been widely shared on social media, is the reason it's humorous. This was taken on March 5th, 2018, which is more than 7 years ago. And this is a CNBC headline. Bitcoin is more likely to be worth $100,000 than $100,000 in 10 years, Harvard economist says. All right, I'm not sure how much Bitcoin was worth in March 2018, but the bubble has burst. Evidently, it reached its highest point in late 2017 at $20,000. By the end of 2018, it had dropped to about $3,200. Therefore, he most likely felt quite intelligent at the time. I think this is hilarious, and it has aged like excellent milk. I simply wanted to bring it up. This person is an economist. You just need to understand, and the economist said that he was, although I didn't read the paper, he made the following argument. Yeah, there's effectively no utility, though. In addition to tax evasion and other serious and malicious activities, people also engage in money laundering. He essentially makes the absurd claim that there is no use case for it outside of that. The fact is, however, that Bitcoin's features have been adequate for users to keep investing in it for the past 16 years. And at that point, it had been way for, 9 years. As a result, you can believe that you are superior to the market simply because the price is currently declining. He's a Harvard economist too, so he's not a moron. He simply holds a very foolish opinion. It is just so clear. I know there are other cryptos that are superior, but folks like you and me just grasp this. The features people like, of course. I don't dispute that, since Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency ever developed, it is technically the worst. XRP is better in every aspect. It does what Bitcoin cannot. I understand that, of course. But it still matters that the first mover advantage has placed it in its current position, and now we are, not quite 10 years have passed, yet Bitcoin is safely worth over $100,000. You'll adore seeing it, I see, okay? Decoupling from Bitcoin and Ethereum has started, and XRP's dominance is exploding in this post. In 2025, XRP's market share is growing, and technical analysis indicates a big departure from Bitcoin and Ethereum. All right, I must stop here. I have been here since 2017. Therefore, you should be aware that I have heard from people on social media about XRP's decoupling at different points during both bull and bear markets. They are doing this by examining extremely short-term price movement and drawing the conclusion that XRP is now distinct from the pack, which is something that many people fervently hope is true. However, the reality is that XRP simply follows the market's movements. Indeed, the foundations of XRP are important. If it hadn't, XRP wouldn't have spent its whole existence in the top 10 coins by market capitalization. However, that isn't all that matters when the most thrilling and enjoyable price action occurs, especially the last exhilaration. At that point, it essentially has nothing to do with the utility.
What maintains XRP's market position is its usefulness. But that's simply shopping ecstasy when you receive the insane motions that don't have anything. That's the only thing going on here. In my opinion, there will never be a scenario in which XRP is actually decoupling, and the market is in a bear market, but XRP continues to trade. That seems improbable to me. However, that's okay. If that is the case, there is nothing wrong with XRP. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. The same is true of the stock market. It's simply less obvious. Because you will have companies that succeed on their own merits. However, I'm telling you that if there is a crash, it will happen. People who experience the dot-com bust, the great financial crisis, or the 2008-2009 period will tell you that everything falls down. Hence, even though Amazon's business metrics were improving, it's not because businesses that were helpful, like Amazon after the dot-com boom and bust, crashed. How about 90%? So think about that. Thus, XRP is comparable. If anything, XRP is simply improving, but like the rest of the market, it will continue to experience cycles of boom and bust. That's okay though. That's perfectly okay. In any case, this indicates that XRP is on its own bullish path, and that its dominance level has been increasing over the last few months, as supported by recent technical analysis and changes in market structure. Alright, so in November, XRP's dominance was at 1%, but it's now closer to 5%. Although there has been a change, XRP has primarily been trading sideways in recent months. Thus, it has been in a holding pattern. Indeed, it is somewhat greater than it was before the July explosion, when XRP once again reached a record high. That's cool then. The exciting part, however, comes a little later. I'll show you that it won't take much for XRP to reach some of these genuinely insane pricing points. Therefore, I'm not sure if it will occur. I always acknowledge that. The idea that it might, however, is not irrational. It could go much, much higher. It's not really that much to ask. That's what I demand. It's not much to ask, even though XRP is fighting a significant short-term support level at $3.22. A technical analysis of the XRP BTC pair and market cap domination indicates a breakout that might set the tone for XRP in the upcoming weeks and months. Crypto analyst Dark Defender broke down the XRP BTC pair on the social media site X, stating that between late 2024 and early 2025, XRP has largely outperformed Bitcoin. The 3-month candlestick price chart of XRP BTC below illustrates this pattern. That's what's now displayed on your screen. I apologize, I simply lost my place. Which shows a clear breakout over a resistance trend line that has been a downtrend since December 2024. The tenacity of this trend line resistance has been upheld by price activity on the XRP BTC pair, despite Bitcoin's several all-time highs in 2025. This pattern suggests a protracted stretch of superior performance. Therefore, that is evident, and ever since this incident, that's what I've been discussing constantly. At the end of 2024, when we were in the gutter and XRP was trading at around its lowest price ever, compared to Bitcoin, I was moving my mouse. For those who are watching the screen, it is when we were down here. I said at that point that we were at a time of great opportunity. We were too. We turned around. Of course it was. Look, this chart spans back 10 years, so it's just plain apparent. When our price is this low for Bitcoin, it always soars. That's the chance. Despite what some were yelling, that does not mean that XRP is dead. Because, as it turns out, a lot of people on the internet are extremely dumb. Additionally, they are incorrect on a number of things and have dumb ideas. That takes place. The typical impending retail speculator is consistently mistaken on this, I assure you. When the price drops, it's dead. No, you stupid stick, that's not how this works. This isn't how it works at all. Therefore, the assault on crypto is done now that we have legal clarification. The market is now experiencing a bull market. Indeed. The notion that XRP would function effectively in such a setting, yes, people, it's not unexpected, not surprising at all. The cool part, though, comes after. You can see how much we've increased in comparison to the XRP BTC pair's prior all-time high from 2017. Even on this chart, there is potential for a nearly threefold increase. Therefore, you could triple the price of XRP in USD using the value of Bitcoin. With the present price of Bitcoin, that would be exactly that, bringing it closer. Perhaps it would be more like $8. I would need to do some math, but you understand, don't you? That's more accurate. $8, $9, or $10. Not quite $10 probably. That is, if the price of Bitcoin remained constant.
It's not static though, it will rise in value. I have no idea how much. However, you can imagine what the price of XRP would signify if it were to even return to that all-time high, given the current dollar estimates for Bitcoin. Much higher. Much, much higher. So what if XRP reaches a new all-time high up here, and Bitcoin does reach $150,000, $180,000, or $200,000? In US dollars, that would be considerably more significant. After that, it would most likely fall into the $15, $16, or $17 bracket, and only a few minutes before I was saying just that. For XRP to enter that range, it is not a major request. I'm not professing to know whether it will happen, therefore I'm not sure. I don't. However, the conjecture surrounding it is entirely plausible. Within the boundaries of reality, that can be securely replaced. That isn't a question. What else believe that XRP makes sense? Aquatic AF sets in for some splashy, splishy whales. Take a look at this post that was made this morning by chart analyst Ellie Martinez.
Whales snapped nearly 900 million XRP in under 48 hours. Whales don't get caught off guard, people, all right?
My friends, the numbers are rising. The numbers increase. Kurt Van Lagen, a chart analyst, has posted this.
XRP is prepared to explode. At X, the 7-year double bottom has begun.
He is referring to the present moment for people who are unable to view the screen, and he claims that it is the same moment in 2017. In essence, it indicates that the neckline passed the retest at the blue dot, and the screen shows that as well. As you can see, in contrast to the 2014-2017 setup, the all-time high cleared the first target, which was located around $34 at the 2 fib extensions of the double bottom. Once more, I'm not sure if we'll hit it. I acknowledge that it's me, but I am aware that's not very good. As if that's still a plausible theory. And that fact alone is thrilling. I am telling you that, in my opinion, raising XRP to these levels is not that difficult. I simply don't know if that will occur. I'll say that again and again. All right. However, the likelihood of that happening increases with the amount of money moving through the cryptocurrency market. Look at this. I mean, Gert Van Lagen has another post here. The whole chart is shown here. Thus, it encompasses the whole class of crypto assets. Here, he predicts a clean neckline retest, inverse head and shoulders, a cautious $9 trillion target, and a break into price discovery. Consider the implications of that. What is the dominance in this case, XRP? Assume that it is 4.78%. For simplicity's sake, let's assume it is 5%. Thus, we're lingering at about 5%. Additionally, the current value of the asset class is just around $4 trillion. Therefore, the price of XRP will immediately double if it just doubles, and XRP's dominance remains constant, say at the level of 5%. Even just that will put you safely above $6, almost $7. In actuality, though, if you're entering that kind of territory and it's not insane, I'm not sure where this thing will peak, but I do believe it will be many trillions higher by the time you reach peak euphoria. Imagine being at 10% or 15% instead of 5% if XRP does begin to run during that last burst of enthusiasm. You can then get about $12, $18, or even $20 instead of $6. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's not a big ask for XRP to get up to that $15, $20, or $25 range. This is the reason I keep repeating this. Actually, it isn't. Therefore, I don't think it's strange when chart experts like Credible Crypto and Crypto Insight UK keep stating that they definitely believe XRP will reach $20 to $30 this cycle. People, I don't think that's ridiculous, but I'm not sure if it will happen. I firmly believe that we won't be let down this cycle.